Hi, welcome to the Reats Assessor course tutorial. The actual name of the course is called Conduct Outcomes-Based Assessment, which is leveled on NQF level 5 and it carries 15 credits. So it's 115753. This is the course or the unit standard that you're doing, right? You must have received this portfolio that I'm opening now. So you see the front cover just looks like that. So we're just going to help you out on how to complete the portfolio, since you're doing a distance learning, or you could have done in class and then you still got this disc, so that it can help you to complete the portfolio, right? So we're going to go through each and every page, and I'll explain to you until we get to the end of the booklet or the POE. So I'm keeping on saying the POE because the POE is the term that we use. It's called a portfolio of evidence. So if you look at it in your file, you see that there are three booklets. The first one is the manual. So when you receive your file, all of it, you need to check out the first part, and then that is yours. That's for your reference. And if you then come to this one, which is the POE. So this is the most important document that you need to all the writing is done in this booklet, right? So let's go through it. You've got the first page. So what you're going to do is you're going to write your name here. Type your name there. So when we're saying name, we're talking about your names as they appear on your ID book. So you write that name and you write the surname as well. So if you've got 2 names, or if you've got 6 names, just to say it, so you're going to just write all those names there. Excuse me. Write all those names there. And if they're not going to fit, then you need to write those that fit and initial for those that cannot fit, and then your surname. You'll start noticing that on the second page, which is this one, you will see that there is signature and date. So you need also to start writing that from that page. So it runs until the end of the booklet. So you're going to make sure that you write, this is the last page, so you're going to make sure that you're writing those signatures and date. The date that we're talking about is the same date that you write in all the forms, because this date is the date that you started the course, or the date that you are given by our office to write as per the requirement by the office. So we're back again on the first page, where you're going to write your name there, like I said earlier on, and then date and signature. Please remember that this is done throughout the whole booklet on each and every page. So in other words, you're saying I'm actually certifying that this document, I did it myself and myself only. So the writing and everything is yours. You may discuss with anybody or talk to anybody, but you're allowed to do the writing on your own. Now, we then go to the third page, which is in the page numbers, it's the second page. So you come here and write your name, full names as they appear on your ID, your ID number, your daytime contact number. We're talking about your landline number, office number, you write them there. Your telephone number or a cell phone number. If you don't have that landline number or your office number, you need to write your cell phone number or an alternative cell phone number. You write your email address here. It's very important to write your email address correctly, because the email address is what we use to communicate with most of our learners. Then that indicates the course you're doing and stuff. Our center, that's our main office we have. And submission date can only be written on the day that you're going to submit your portfolio. Or if you know the date, then just write the date. Like say you are doing it in January and you go and submit on the 30th of June, then you can just write the 30th of June there. Carry on to page 3. On this page is the contents page that you need to arrange or organize your evidence. So it is part of the CCFOs that shows that the learner is able to organize or collect and arrange his or her evidence. So this is a title. Most of the people have a problem with a title. So you get here and say, I've completed the personal information for registration on NLRD, National Learner Record or Registration Document. So you're going to look at this form. In this case, let's go down together. That's the next page. That's the next page. We're just going down the pages until we get to that form. So this is the form we're talking about. So the form, as you can see, National Learner Records Database. That's the form that they're talking about, this form. So you go back to that. Let's look at what page it is on. So it's on page 11 until, just scrolling down to check the last page. So it gets to page 18 where you get 19 as your ID book. So we go back to that contents page. Right. On the contents page, you're going to write 11 to page 18. Your certified copy of ID, we just realized that it's on page 19. So you go and look for all these forms, declaration of authenticity, all of these forms are there. And then you write their page numbers here. So it means that you are able to arrange, collect, and organize. So as we go, you see on the CCFOs that there is a question or an area where we need to explain that we are able to do that. So you can reference this as part of what they're asking for. Now, we carry on to the next page. On page 4, we've got a SAQA document. Excuse me. This SAQA document, it's a document that explains what the qualification is all about, as defined or explained by SAQA, prescribed rather. So SAQA would want us to follow all of these in order for us to achieve the unit standard. For now, what we're going to do is, you're not going to do anything. You're just putting your signatures and dates on each and every page. We'll come back to it, and then we'll look at how best we can use that document. Now, we are now on page 10, not forgetting to put the signatures and date. So you carry on down. For official use, you're not doing anything, of course. And then you get to the place where you're going to put your date, form completed on, enter a date of completing this form. So in this case, since you're doing it on the very same day, you're going to continue using the same dates that you're putting on top of each and every page. So you write the date there, write your full name. This is more of personal information that you need to complete. Wherever you don't have anything to write or it's not applicable to you, please write not applicable, N/A. Carry on down. All this is information that you need to indicate. Tick your race or your equity reporting, white, black Indian or black African, black colored, unknown, that is if you are. Then residential status, indicate that for those that are not from South Africa, and indicate also the actual country where you're coming from. Carry on down. Socioeconomic status, are you employed? unemployed and not looking for work, or you're looking for a job, then disability status is very important to indicate that, because it is one of the main important things we look at in assessment or in learning. Go down. High school qualifications. Some of the people have done foreign qualifications. Then you need to look at those, indicate unknown, and then write it there. And then you're going to write highest qualifications achieved. You know exactly what you've done, so indicate that. If you're studying for something except this course that we're talking about, then you need to indicate the course down there. Carry on, not forgetting the date and signature on each and every page, because if you omit a date or a signature, it means that the whole file is wrong, or it's gonna make your file not yet competent. So assessors are very much attentive when it comes to date and signature. It's put there for a purpose. Personal contacting details, then you're looking at your home address, your everything, and you indicate all those, cell phone number, which province you're staying, and if you are sent by the employer or you are employed, then you need to indicate excuse me, you need to indicate what company you're working for, the department, job title, and all that information that follows. The province where you are. Sometimes the supervisor or the manager is the one that approves your training. So that information is very important. It needs to be indicated there. When you're done with the form, you don't need to forget to sign in this box. So put your signature in that box. Then we continue, not forgetting the date and signature. Right. My ID book. Your identity document needs to be certified. It's indicated it needs to be certified. You'll find that the learners will attach a document that is not so clear, and that becomes a problem for authentication. So we can't authenticate a document that is dark. We cannot see the picture. So it must be a clear document that is photocopied clearly, or it must not be that white so that we cannot see. So it must be very clear, it's indicated here. Make sure that your document is clear and that the photograph can be seen. So this applies to the certificate, your CV, your ID book, or any other document that you may attach in this portfolio. Right, so you do a copy, certify it, and attach it to the file. We carry on to page 20, where you also do the same with the certificates. They should be clear and certified. Please note that there is no document that is going to be accepted by the assessor if it's not certified. For authentic reasons, we don't need to have that document uncertified, if there's a word like that. But anyway, you as well as an assessor, when you become an assessor, that's one of the things that you need to look at. You need to know exactly that you need to have a document that is authenticated by the people that are required to by the Republic of South Africa. We carry on excuse me, to page 21. Your CV. Put your CV there, and if you don't have a typed CV, make sure you write neatly and attach. Some people may be having resources issue, so they may attach a document that indicates much of their information, and as in form of CV written by hand. It's not a problem. Please indicate that. Please put it in attach it in the portfolio, as long as it's clear. We then go to the pre-assessment and declaration of readiness. This is for the purpose of this is it's an interview that is to inform the learner of the skills, knowledge, and understanding required in order to be declared competent in a specific unit standard. So for this unit standard, that is the form for that. So you need to sign this document. By signing this pre-assessment interview form, the learner confirms that he or she has familiarized himself or herself with assessment process and specific outcomes of this unit standard. So this will take us back It will take us back to that form, the SACWA document that we saw earlier on. Here. Right. So this document will tell you the level of the qualification, which is level 5. And it will tell you how many credits. It will tell you when the qualification is going to expire. It will tell you everything about the qualification. But let's go down to where we actually need to know much. The specific outcome, this is divided into, it's got 5 specific outcomes. Specific outcome 1, and we go to specific outcome 2. That's 2. Specific outcome 3. Specific outcome 4. Excuse me. And then specific outcome 5. So what we have here is specific outcome 1 will tell us we need to demonstrate an understanding of outcomes-based assessment. But how do we do that? What do we know, or what exactly are we supposed to be doing? So assessment criteria 1 will then tell us that comparisons between outcomes-based and another form of assessment of learning highlight key differences in terms of underlying philosophies and approaches to assessment, including an outline of advantages and disadvantages. In simpler terms, we are supposed to pick any other form of learning that is not outcomes-based assessment. And then we compare and we look at the key differences in terms of the way the approaches and the assessment, including the disadvantages and advantages. So we'll see that as we go down. But yes, the learner needs to know that all that they are learning is indicated here. Assessment criteria 2 is for RPL. And RPL is supposed to be explained in terms of its purpose, processes, related benefits, and challenges. Explanations highlight the potential impact of RPL and on individuals, learning organizations, and the workplace. So I'm just showing you, I'm just showing you the specific outcomes and the assessment criteria and how they work. So we're going to carry on down and continue to complete that form, since we are aware of what is supposed to be done. Excuse me. Which is this form. So you're going to include your full names, ID numbers, telephone number, email address, employer if you have. Then we carry on completing. You're going to get somebody to sign for you as a witness. Facilitator, you leave it blank. You put the date when you completed, which is the same date, and the venue where you are completing from. We carry on to page 23, where we are mainly concentrating on the special needs or potential barriers. So you're looking at if you have a disability or a special need. And special needs, we're looking at illiteracy, language, blind, all those disabilities that can affect you to complete the portfolio. So you need to list them here. If you can't do that, then you need to indicate that it's not applicable. We carry on. We look at appeals process. Candidate made aware of the purpose of the appeal and appeals procedure to be followed. In each and every learning that we do in South Africa, a learner has got his or her own rights. And if those rights are not exercised or they are violated, you need to complete a form that I'm going to show you as we go down. Candidate's readiness declaration. This is whereby a learner is going to say, yes, I'm ready to go through the process. I declare that I'm fine with the continuation and go for assessment. This also is affected or influenced by one of the learner rights. So you put your signature there and the date. Excuse me. Then we get to the declaration of authenticity. That is on page 25. So on this form, you're going to write your full name there and surname. That's your full name. And then you put your ID number there and declare that you only used the portfolio that we've given you, the manual that we've given you. But if you've used any other website or manual or book apart from the one that we've given you, so you need to declare where you got, if it's a book, declare where you got that from. So you indicate here to say, I went to www.nick.com for my assignment question number 10 on page 14. So in other words, we're avoiding plagiarism. We're avoiding using the informational websites of people without declaring that we have used that. So you need to acknowledge that I have used information that I got on this website. It's allowed to do so. But if you don't declare, then it becomes an issue. You're stealing from some people's website. So indicate the question or the assignment number and the page number here. Excuse me. And then you put your signature there and date. This is the appeals form. This form is not completed if you don't have any grievance or query. So what you can only do on this form, if you don't have a grievance or query, you come down here at the bottom, indicate that you've gone through the form, you know what the form is, by putting a signature there or initials. So that's the first page of the appeals form. The second page as well, you put the appeal, indicate with the signature there, and the final page also you indicate with the signature here. Put a date and signature there. We carry on to the next page. The evidence summary sheets are used by the assessor. The assessor is the one that will call it a score sheet, or where a learner is scored, and then you indicate what the learner has done. So you come to there, you don't do anything except the signature and date. You'll find that these pages are now on landscape. They are no longer portrait in your portfolio. So sometimes there is a perforation here for the file, and then you need to actually look carefully and just write there, or pull it out of the portfolio and write it and then put it back, as long as you don't omit these pages. So you don't do anything there. You put a signature and date on all those pages, and the way it says learner's signature, you put a signature there and then you leave it like that. Next page, you put a signature and date, and then we get to this critical cross-fields outcome. I'm sure by now you're not forgetting to put the signatures and date. I'm just going to jump straight to the first one, where we have manage yourself, manage myself, and my own time to plan activities. Provide evidence that proves you have strong time management skills. So you need to tell us that you are able to manage your time to plan your own activities, maybe by the use of a diary or by the use of a reminder, electronic diaries. There's quite a lot of ways that people manage their own time with. So you need to tell us how you're managing your time. It could be professionally, it could be socially, it could be, I don't know, but you need to indicate that you are able to use your time. Some people use reminders on their phones. Some people use electronic diaries on their phones. With this technology, we've got quite a lot of things that we do or we use. So you're going to indicate that this is what I use, as long as it, at the end of the day, it shows strong time management skills. So as part of evidence, you can attach a printed to-do list or printed electronic diary, or from the Microsoft whatever, or from your phone, then attach it as an evidence. So a diary should indicate some activities that you did on that particular day, and you attach it there. Describe a situation where you collected, analyzed, organized, and critically evaluated information. In most cases, I always advise the learners that you have done this already when you get to this point. We have the contents page that we completed earlier on. So on that contents page, it's a proof that you have managed to collect, analyze, organize, and critically evaluate information. So you may reference your portfolio or indicate that as I was building this portfolio, I managed to collect, analyze, organize, and critically evaluate information. And it's evidenced, or the evidence is got a proof on my contents page. Then you indicate the contents page. We move on to the next one, where you need to indicate that you are able to communicate verbally and in writing. Obviously, you are writing this portfolio, so there is no much need of explaining or any other thing. You can indicate that I'm a facilitator if you're a facilitator. If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're a presenter, indicate your job or your job title that you do, the job that you do, and say, I'm a facilitator, and part of what I need to do is to talk to the learners and write on the board or write in manuals. So that will actually be a reason for that, is to actually put it as an evidence for that. So you may indicate that I work as a team, I work with a team of people, and in the team, this is what I do, and so forth. But you need to give us any information that indicate that you are able to communicate verbally and in writing. Work as part of a team using critical and creative thinking. So we're looking at, excuse me, we're looking at a person that is working. You need to indicate to us that you are a person that is a team player. So you work with a number of people in a team. The purpose of a team is to actually achieve one objective. So you find like ESCOM has got lots of departments, but the idea of, the objective, the main objective is to actually generate electricity, and that electricity is sent to where it's supposed to be, like it's consumed by us as a nation. So whatever they do in coal mining and management, human resources, safety, and technical side of generators or power stations, all of that are regarded as team tasks that are given to different teams or different players, and collectively it's a team. So you need to look at where you're working, and you have one objective at the company, and that objective is achieved by different people who are working towards achieving that objective. So indicate how you are able to work as a team. It could be a department where you are in human resources or accounts. So you doing a certain task and the other one do a certain task, and collectively you achieve an objective for the department. So you may, if you employ it, you may have evidence of signed documents by the team players or the team members that you're working with. Use critical thinking skills to solve any problem that may arise. So you need to describe a situation in your life when you had to use critical thinking to solve a problem. So just think of anything that you've done in your life, or a point where you have to use critical thinking to solve a certain problem. So you are supposed to tell us, sometime in blah 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 blah, this is what I did, and I had to do this to actually solve the problem. So your solution should show or indicate critical thinking. Okay. Interact in a culturally and aesthetically sensitive manner to people and handle any conflict that may arise. Explain how you interact in a multicultural organization. I'm sure in South Africa there is no company, or I would rather say in the world, well, some maybe, but in South Africa, let's talk about South Africa, there isn't any company that has got only one culture, or that has got people from one culture. That would be very impossible. So you need to explain how you interact with people in a multicultural organization. So usually what I advise my learners is, most of the time, you just need to do what is right. You don't need to actually concentrate on one race or one color or one culture. So be a person who is looking at people as people, and don't take sides, especially if you are a leader. In a class setup, let's say you've got different five tribes or cultures in your class. You are not supposed to be biased. You're not supposed to be one-sided. You're supposed to be a person that looks at different people, that knows that they don't offend people, they don't offend or step on each other's cultural toes, you know what I mean? So you're supposed to be neutral whenever you're doing any assessment or any facilitation or any leading in any company. We then move to use science and technology effectively. If you did type, because some of the people don't want to write, they'll take this document and start typing. And when they type, they attach their documents in the portfolio. So if you've typed this document, you don't need to prove that you are able to use science and technology effectively. But if you did not, then you need to indicate to us maybe you are able to do a typing, or particularly for this question, you can type this question only and continue writing the other, just to prove that you are able to use a computer and you are able to use science and technology effectively. Demonstrate an understanding of the world as a set of related systems. Explain two interrelating systems. Example, a church and a school. You need to explain the relationship or the similarities between a church and a school, or work and home. So if we look at a church and a school, how similar are they? I'll say there is a reporting structure put in place. I'll also say there is learning that happens from the church and also the school. So there could be quite a lot of similarities. Some schools and some churches, they wear uniforms, and some do not. But yes, you may include that as well. You don't just go to anybody in a church to report a certain issue, but you go also to some people that have got the authority. So there is similarities. If you look at the home and work, there is also a reporting structure, and there are rules on the ground, and you can choose the two and just indicate the similarities there. Plan for your own development. I don't even know what you plan in your life, but indicate to us, let's say in five years time, what do you want to do in 5 years time. So you need to put your plans. That is more personal, but very important to the CCFOs. Now, we've got to this point, and I'm going to stop on this point. The next part of the video will be indicating what we do from page 39 to 67. So thank you very much, and if you have questions, you know how to contact me via email. My email address is nick, N-I-C-K, at Reats. So it's NICK at REATS.co.za. Or you can phone us on our number 011-024-7405. Ask to speak to Nick or Lawrence. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the second part of the portfolio completion for the assessor. We ended on page 39 of 67. So now we're carrying on with the completion. Now, we're now getting to the knowledge test, which is one of the assessment methods. So what we're going to look at now is the instructions. The instructions are telling us that you need to use only black pen, no Tipex. If you make a mistake, just cross it out and write it on a separate page and indicate your name and surnames on top. Right. So it's always important to indicate the question number. Like say you missed question number 2, and then you indicate question number 2 on the separate page. It's just a plain paper. You don't need to ask for a reprint for this document. Then you do that, and then the next thing you do is to indicate your ID number and your full names on top, and then you start writing whatever you were supposed to write correctly. So this is what we have here. We don't need people to write the same information. You can discuss together with your friend or whoever, but you're not supposed to be writing the same information or the same evidence. Attachments can be the same, but you need to write your own. Like we said here, you indicating that I am certifying that this is my own work. So you need to make sure that you do things yourself. Now, the knowledge questionnaire has got the first question. If you look at it here, you see that it's written SO1, AC1 to AC5, meaning that the question number 1 carries specific outcome 1, assessment criteria 1 to assessment criteria 5. Where do we get this from? We go back to the SAQA document we stated in the first video, where we get specific outcome 1 and assessment criteria 1. I read this earlier on in the first part of the video, and this is what we learned. Comparison between outcomes-based and another form of assessment of learning highlight key differences in terms of the underlying philosophies and approaches to assessment, including an outline of advantages and disadvantages. So if we go back to that page, we are going to see that we are comparing the two systems, which is the old system and the new system. So I'm just going to pick 1 or 2 or 3 to show you how you do it. So A says, okay, let me read the instruction. Insert the following statements under the appropriate heading. So instead of writing the whole thing, you're going to just write a letter A. You write it here, if it is the answer for that. So now let's look at it. Registered national standards. We looking at, was the old system doing that or the new system is doing it? As far as we know, a learner would leave a school and needs a transferring letter to go to the other school. That is the old system. In the new system, when you move a training provider to another training provider, they just simply log on to the ETDP SITA system, which is the Indicium now, enter your ID number, and they get your records, and they'll tell you where you registered and what you did. So that automatically falls under the new system. Knowledge-based, that is the old system. And as I stated there, that a learner needs to get a transferring letter. So it means that there is no one with the records, and automatically the learning is different. So if you move a child from Limpopo to another place, there's so many chances that he or she is going to get low in terms of performance, meaning that there is no learning that is the same there, even though the syllabus is the same, but there is difference in learning. So C becomes the old system. Right. So that's exactly what you're going to do for the rest of, let's just do D, learners assessed against national standards. Obviously, we identified that registered national standards fall under the new system. So D falls under the new system. So you're going to write your letter D there. So we've done 4 of them, and 1 is only the old system. So you should have A. On the new system, you should have A, C, and D. And on the old system, you should have B. So that's exactly what you're going to do. You can only find this information in your learner guide on Module 1. We move on to the next question. Define recognition of prior learning. I always advise my learners to say, if you are doing this, go into the module 1.2 in our portfolio, in our manual, and then you get all this information. But let's give an example of 1.2. RPL is a recognition of prior learning. A good example that I'll give is a guy that has been working as an assistant mechanic at a big garage. So after 5 years, the guy is no longer as, let's say, not informed as he was in the beginning. So this person is able to service cars and repair cars. So with that, he is still an assistant, or he's not a qualified motor mechanic. But practically, he is good with everything like the trained ones. So what it means is he's gonna remain as an assistant until a time when he gets to be qualified and get a certificate. So the recognition of prior learning looks at your experience that you have, and they take you to point that you were learning and you learned a lot from the beginning of the year, like say the six years, from year 1 or day 1 of 6 years to the 60th day year. And so it means you have been learning a lot. So instead, they'll give you a certain way or a file or work to do in terms of learning, and then you learn, proving to them that you are capable of doing what you've been learning in 6 years. And then you get a certificate, and then you can be called a mechanic. So you need to go to your Google or use our manual and then indicate which part of Google you got this information for. RPL, which is 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. So all of that, you need to look for that research on Google or use our manual. Right. List the strengths and weaknesses of the following assessment methods. In the outcomes-based assessments, we've got quite a lot of assessment methods, but we've just picked the 3 assessment methods. So you need to explain to us, how does observation contribute positively to the assessment system or negatively to the assessment system? If we use observation as a method to assess someone, what are the strengths and weaknesses of it? So an observation is whereby you train a person in class, and then they need to demonstrate that in a workplace. So when they are at the workplace, you come in as an assessor to assess what you have taught them in class or what is stipulated in the SAQA document for that particular unit standard or qualification. So you'll be watching them doing exactly what you taught them. It could be engineering, it could be any other subject, but you sitting there, you checking exactly. So it's, in other words, we're saying it gives you an opportunity to have first-hand information or direct evidence, and that becomes the strength. For the weakness, then it is something that we need to look at. So now, one of the main weaknesses of the observation is, since it involves physical or an assessor to be there, it also promotes a chance of them being biased. So one can be biased and report wrong information, which can lead to it as a weakness in the assessment. 2, questioning. Questioning is whereby a person comes in and then you ask them questions for you to get information or to as a form of assessment. Right. You'll find that it's the same as the observation because it gives us direct evidence and you are able to face the person and see first-hand information or get first-hand information. And then the weakness becomes some of the people are not naturally born being able to answer questions. They feel intimidated or otherwise. So that will not give you exactly the correct picture of what the person is. So that becomes a weakness. Product evaluation is whereby you are given specifications to do or make a certain product, and then you submit that product for the assessor to have a look at it. So if you send the product, it must have your name. So in other words, the assessor is not looking at you when they are assessing you. They are assessing you on the product that you have submitted. This is very much tricky on the authentication part. You cannot authenticate this product that it has been done by a certain person, or you can't tell that. So that's one of the weaknesses. But one advantage becomes if the product has been made by the learner and the learner alone, then it's a true reflection of what the learner is capable of doing. So if you understand me what I'm saying if, meaning that there are less, if not only this one, advantages or strengths of this part of assessment. So it is always good for an assessor to consider more than 2 or more than 1 methods of assessment in order for you to get the proper results. I'm sure by now this date and signature is done. And we go to 1.8. Explain the meaning of each of the following principles. That I refer all of my learners to the manual. Let's just look at where we can get the manual. Where in the manual can we get that information? So we have the manual here, and we're going to open the manual, and then we look at what page it falls under. So that when you're looking for that particular question, you're going to get it on which page. So we were talking about page, we're talking about module 1.2. So you're going to scroll into your manual and then look for that question. I'm just going to go down and give you the page where you can actually look at it. Excuse me. So, in terms of, okay, sorry about that. I'm just going down to check if we can get the question for you, and then we can look at where in the manual can we get that. So it's very simple because now we've got the assessment methods explained and everything. So where you spoke about the observation, there is the observation there. So it gives you the strength and the weaknesses there. So that's on page, that should be page 35 of the manual. And then for the assessment principles, you find them in your manual again, where it says key assessment principles, which is 1.4. So you're going to get all your manual, in your manual, all those are explained there. So you look at those and then work around those, and you indicate them in your manual. So we're going back to the main booklet we have. Where we were looking at the assessment principles. The principles. There we go. Right. So that is the part that I said you can get them on 1.4 in your manual. Why is it important to give feedback to a candidate? You have done the training, the learners are happy. After doing the training, you still need to give. It is important. It's not a lie. It's very important to give a learner or indicate to the learner how they've performed. So that is done in form of feedback. We call that feedback. So some do feedback sessions where they give the learner the feedback. As an assessor, you cannot just assess and pile the portfolios without letting the learners know on how they performed. So why is it important? It is very important for a learner to know how they've performed, simply because, one, they need to know for developmental purposes. They need to go and do more if they did not do right. So for continuous learning, a learner needs to know how they've performed. If they've performed very well, then it means they're going to the next stage. If they did not perform very well, they need to do remediation. In simpler terms, we call that corrections, but it's remediation in this context. So that is the reason why we have to give the learners feedback. And the sitters do require an assessor to have a signed document to say, I've received the feedback. Because if they don't put a signature on the feedback form, it means the learners did not receive the feedback. We carry on to the next question. We've got, what do you need to take into consideration for the assessment with regards to the following? Resources. What resources do you need? The venue, the tables and chairs, water, lights, air, toilets. All those are very important when we need to do the assessment. Some people fail because the room was dimly lit. So it won't be fair, and therefore you find more appeal forms from the learner to say, I did not perform very well because there was no water. There was no lights. There was no enough air. There were no enough tables and chairs. So there is no way that a learner can sit and use their laps to write. So it's not going to be fair for the learners. Logistics, we're talking about a venue that has been picked. How do the learners get to that venue? Are they going to use transport? If they are going to use transport, this affects the start and the end time. So let's say people are coming from 200 kilometers away from the venue, then it may be maybe 3/4 of the people are coming from, or the whole group is coming from 200 kilometers to come to the venue. Why don't we send the assessor there? Because it's only one person. So that is influenced by the logistics as well. So you need to indicate the start time and the end time and the way learners are going to get to the venue. Documentation. Documentation looks at, I'm just going to refer to our learning manual where we have all these documents. We must look at the following: the assessment plan, and there we go. So that is the information you get on page 49. Right. So you're going to look at page 49, and then you read there, and then you put your answers in the space. Carrying on to number 2.1, name the parties to be to be notified of the assessment taking place. You're going to get this also on page 49. What do you need to do as an assessor? What do you as an assessor need to confirm with the moderator prior to the assessment? All I know is the venue needs to be confirmed, the unit standard, and the method. So we're talking about the method of assessment and more. There is more. If you look at page 50, you can get more on page 50. Please go through that page and answer this question and add more. You should know that no matter how many marks is indicated, but you need to give as much as possible. Right. 2.4, the question says, discuss the purpose of the NQF. I will refer you to Google, where you can get more information, or use our learner guides to go through the purposes of NQF. You need to indicate 4 points on that, because there are 4 purposes of the NQF. Now, we are on 2.5, which is on page 52. Explain what the term quality assurance, QA, means in the assessment context. From my understanding, my general understanding is quality assurance is an act of meeting the required or the set standards or the required standards. So you need to come up with your own understanding of, or rather the definition that you understand for the term quality assurance, and it carries 2 marks. 2.6, list and briefly discuss 2 acts that were implemented to promote skills development. Skills Development Act is one of the piece of legislation that was done, and we're also looking at the Occupational Health and Safety Act. A couple of times we see learners indicating skills development and they don't write the word act. So it's legislation, so it needs to be written as it is. So make sure that you write the act at the end. If you know the year, it should be Act of 19 whatever, then you indicate that. That will make your answer correct. But now, on the question, you are supposed to briefly discuss. So you're not saying a lot. So for occupational health and safety, you can also indicate that you may indicate something like it is a piece of legislation that covers all the health and occupational health related issues in workplace for the employer and the employee, or and so forth. So it depends with what how you understand it. Then we'll move on to 2.7. What is a unit standard? I'll leave that to you. You need to do a research that there on and indicate that. Name 5 possible special needs, which is question 3. Specific outcome 3. Assessment criteria 1. And assessment criteria 6. Name 5 special needs of a candidate that should be taken into consideration. Most of the learners think that when we speak about special needs, we're thinking about only disability. But there are some other special needs like illiterate or illiteracy and language as well. So those are the main common special needs that you may include, and then you can also include those disability or the other special needs that you may know. So you can also check in your manual where you can get all of that and indicate 5 of them. Right. In each and every company or organization, there are policies that are used. So one of the policies that is mainly used in a training by a training company is the assessment policy. So this is an assessment. This is a policy that indicates what or how the assessments are going to be conducted from the beginning to the end. So we just want you to go and look for an assessment policy from your workplace, then indicate what should be included in it. As far as I know, the assessment policy or any policy has got an introduction and all the procedures that need to be followed, and when we're actually conducting whatever is contained in that policy. So you also need to indicate some of the assessment policy includes the color of ink to be used by learners, assessors, whoever is involved in the assessment process. So it also includes the VAX analysis, which is the valid, authentic, reliable, current, and sufficient. So that is well explained in the assessment policy. But now you need to go and look for a policy and look at that, or you can even Google and search and then look at the policy and then indicate what must be included in there. So the space is big. You need to fill it up with the answer for that question. Question number 4, which is specific outcome 5, and it's assessment criteria 1 to assessment criteria 6. Outline the procedure for giving feedback to learners at your workplace. There are so many ways that companies do give feedback, but the main thing is feedback should be given. So if you give feedback, how are you giving it at your workplace? Some may indicate or include that the learners, they do the module or the unit standard like this week, and then when they have a next session after a week or some weeks, and then they need to hand in their portfolios that they were working on, as they hand those portfolios in, they are supposed to be given feedback for the previous module or previous unit standard that they've done. And for each and every feedback that is given, a learner needs to sign for that feedback. So this is an advice also to you whenever you are qualified to be an assessor. What you need to do is you need to know that after any assessment that you've done, you need to actually go and give the learners the feedback. The feedback we have indicated in one of the questions up there or back in your portfolio that we value feedback because it's very important for the learners. It's very important in so many ways that we've indicated. One, for continuous learning. Secondly, we saw that when a learner is not yet competent, then they need to know so that they can also do the remediation. So for progress purposes or developmental purposes, that is very important. Okay. If a learner is not yet competent, I just indicated above that when a learner is not competent, it means that he did not meet the required or the requirements. So he or she needs to do remedial work, and that we call remediation. And that remediation is not a rewrite. You are only concentrating on the areas where you did not score correctly, so that you correct on that point and you get your credits right. So if you do that, you are actually doing the remediation, right? What is the use of the appeals form? We have indicated earlier on that in your portfolio, when we were completing the administration part, we indicated that when a learner feels they have been treated unfairly, it is one of their rights to go and say, I did not get the fair treatment, therefore, will you please accept my appeals form so that the matter can be investigated and solved. So that is the main use. If you've got a grievance or a problem that you feel it violated your rights, then you need to complete the appeals form. That's why we did not give an option to complete the appeals form when we were completing the administration part, because we don't know what is going to happen in the process. Question number 5. What should be reviewed in the assessment? I'm not going to answer this question, but for each and every process, after you complete, you need to sit down and look at how you did it and what went wrong, what you need to improve on, and then that's the review part of the process. So in your module 5, in your learner guide, you need to look at that. It's one of the last chapters. that you have in your learner guide. So you're gonna go and read, and then you answer the questions, and there should be 5 points that you're going to include there. That marks the end of the knowledge test. From there, you just continue putting your date and signature, and then you come down, you leave everything like the way they are. As I'm scrolling down, you leave everything like the way they are, but not forgetting the dates and signature. Carry on until the end of the booklet. That part is going to be completed by your assessor. And then, yes, so that gets us to the page 67, where it marks the end of the portfolio. I'd like to thank you so much. In case you did not understand much, or this video did not help you, you still have an opportunity to call our offices and ask to speak to myself, Nick, and then I'll assist you, take you through wherever you don't understand. The idea is not completing the portfolio, but the idea is to understand the actual that you are supposed to be understanding as stipulated by or prescribed by SACO. So thank you very much, and I hope this helps. Thank you.